Hey everyone, this is Sergeant DangerCow from British Sergeant's Mess. Thanks for joining me in this week's episode of Chewing the Card, episode 15 in fact, so thank you very much for all the support as usual. This week I've only got a couple of things really to address in terms of the game itself, and then I actually want to talk about a game mode that I've come up with over the course of the last couple of days. So the first thing I want to just briefly touch on is a small bug that I've noticed when I am, I normally play hardcore, so it's quite important in that element, but as a game-breaking thing, not very important at all. The problem is that when I am inside of a building where snow is outside, I've noticed that people coming in from the outside or going to the outside, if they're friendly, their name doesn't come up very quickly, or it seems to be, I don't know, maybe it's whited out by the snow, but it just, there's something wrong there which could probably be addressed. The other thing I want to briefly touch on is spawning. Now, back in this last week, Tigger has said about spawn systems and how they want to look at spawn systems and all the rest of it. Now, for me, I have no real issue with the spawning system per se, other than when you spawn on an individual. And there are two major component problems here. One is for the spawner, and the second is for the person who might be shooting at the person you're spawning on. And the reason I say this is because when you spawn on someone who is under fire, you are likely to be killed yourself, because the stream of fire is going directly towards the person that you're spawning on, and you're spawning in exactly the same position as them. So if those spawns were moved sort of 3 to 5 feet away from the person that you spawn on, that would help an awful lot reduce that situation. Also, on the flip side, if you're shooting at someone and then someone spawns on that person has a spawn protection for a couple of seconds or whatever it is. And that means that you can be firing at the person has someone spawn on them, and that means that forms effectively a barrier through which you cannot shoot, yet the other person can shoot through them. That's obviously in when the friendly fire is turned off. So, you know, these couple of elements could be altered simply by instating a gap between the person that you spawn on and your actual spawn location. Also, maybe there should be a little thing there that you can't spawn on someone who is under fire. I think that would greatly reduce the, dissatisfaction with that particular element of the game. So on to my new game mode. I say my new game mode, I don't know if it's new, but it's something I thought about a couple of days ago with a mate of mine who I was talking about when I used to play Risk. And if you don't know how Risk works, it's a board game before the internet came along and ruined us all, and essentially you would invade countries, and when you invaded them you would get a group of soldiers or some tanks or some perks or whatever. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to turn that core element into a game mode in Battlefield? And this is what I've come up with. So let's start at the top. Each team has a vastly reduced number of tickets, say about 50. I mean, remember, all these figures and everything I do is all arbitrary and all open to discussion. The point is, it's a starting point for this to go forwards. Now, every time you capture a zone, you then get an additional X number of tickets, say 20, okay? And once you've captured a zone, it is then locked. It can't be recaptured for at least, let's say, 2 minutes. The whole point of that is that so you don't have the zone is captured straight away again, and that gives the other team tickets and yada yada yada. It should be also said that you don't lose tickets if you lose a zone. You would lose tickets if more than 50% of the zones were held by the enemy team, but only at a standard bleed rate, because I think that's probably more balanced. And once you've got 10, i.e. you've got all the zones, in that case the game is over. The game would also be over, obviously, if the tickets of the other team were drained down to 0. So how would it work? What would it look like? Well, I had a bit of a think about this, and I'm no genius with Photoshop or anything like this, so you'll have to forgive me. So let's start with what the actual zones would be. Now, I've got 2 ways of doing this, I think, at the moment. Obviously, it's up for discussion. Please Feel free to leave any constructive criticism down below in the comments or on my Twitter at Sergeant DangerCow, SGT DangerCow I should say. So we'll start with the first system I came up with, which is the grid system, which would look a bit like this. So obviously each grid here is a zone, and I think that's probably too many that I've marked out here, but nonetheless you get an idea of how it would work. This is your deploy screen. Obviously all your zones would be colored as according to whether or not they are captured. So if they're blank, they're not captured. If they're green, then they're yours. If they're red, then the enemies. You'll also notice there is a countdown timer in each box, which will tell you how long you've got until those zones are unlocked and available for capture again. So that's that one. And then we've got the second one, which is a simple basically box system, much like having MCOMs around the place, only in a grid format. I mean, it doesn't have to be a grid, but it just made it easier for me, in all honesty, to set it out like this. And so this is a simple box. As you can see, the green ones are obviously the ones that I've got, the red ones are the ones the enemy have got, and the white one is uncaptured. Fairly simple, fairly easy to pick up. So what would the boxes do, or what would the zones do in terms of perks apart from the idea of increasing your tickets? So if a zone is captured, it might release a perk to your team, like it might give you extra body armor, or it might give you an extra ammo pouch, or it might give you an extra grenade. I would say this should be infantry only, but you know there are some who want to have vehicles in their games, so maybe there could be two versions, infantry only and one with vehicles, where vehicles are spawned at particular zones when they're captured. Then I thought it would be quite cool to have a star zone in the middle. The star zone would essentially enhance the number of tickets you get by half again for each zone you capture. So if you captured a zone, instead of getting, I don't know, let's say 20 tickets, you would get 30 tickets because you're getting half of 20. You could even make it that each zone had its own ticket number, so a higher tickets in the middle and lower tickets on the outside. It's a lot of variation there. Let me know what you think, please. I really do think this has got some legs on it, and I would really like to see what people think, so let me know in the comments below. Now I want to move on to the UI, because obviously that's an important component part of how the game works. I think that it would be interesting actually to see, first of all, what the UI would look like, and then we can look at what the actual zone thing, the thing that you're capturing, would look like. So here's the UI. Now I've done a little bit of Photoshop jiggery pokery with this, so you'll have to give me it's a bit rough around the edges. So let's start off immediately with the A, B and C capture points, or Alpha, Bravo, Charlie if you want to be super uber tactical. So you'll see that Alpha is blue, which means it's ours, my team's. You will see that Bravo is obviously red, and therefore obviously the enemy team. You will see, however, that Charlie is also red, but with a double diamond. Now the double diamond would indicate that the zone is locked, that you cannot capture it back yet. Once it's a single diamond, like above Bravo there, that means you're able to capture it. Obviously at the top there you would have 6 of 10 and 2 of 10. Now 6 of 10 means that you've got 6 of the zones, and 2 of 10 means you have 2 of the zones. So on the bottom left there you have the map, the mini map, which would show you the number of tickets you've got, and you can glance down there. And on the bottom right I thought it would be quite cool to have what global perks you have been given above your ammo or whatever. So you can see there you've got extra body armor. Now these would be stackable perks, so if you've got body armor already, it would give you extra body armor on top of that. Now here I'm looking at the objective itself. As you can see, I've taken a sample from the obliteration. I don't think you need an MCOM. I think the obliteration sort of setup is much better. It could even just be the two sort of stacked boxes on the right with the laptop on it. The padlock above it obviously indicates that the area is locked, so you can't get to it and you can't capture it, and the number above is the countdown from 2 minutes left, so it's 1 minute and 23 seconds before you can capture this area again. Now what you're looking at here is an objective as if you could capture it, and you will immediately notice that hovering above the laptop is a body armor icon. This would indicate that if you were to capture this particular objective, your whole team would receive a body armor perk, and again I say this would be stacked on. If you're already wearing body armor, it would be a stacked perk. So that's it. I've called the game mode Risk and Reward. In conclusion, it's essentially a game whereby if you capture a zone, your team is given tickets and possibly a perk, either ammo or health or whatever. There's a load of permutations to what each zone could bring. It could bring double points, it could bring double whatever. I mean, the point is the zones have the ability to be adaptable to anything you want. Let me know what you think, as I say, in the comments below or at Sergeant DangerCow. That's at SGT Sierra Golf Tango DangerCow on Twitter. I'd be really interested to hear what you all think. So that's it for me this week. Until next week, I'll see you on the battlefield. Ta-ta.